Hello, 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 everybody. Super excited to have one more live stream going on with some incredible people talking about resources that actually matter and how to actually get those resources in, because a lot of times we see that some of these things are just a little bit out of reach. And the goal here is to see what we can do to actually level the playing field and see what's going on in this world and what opportunities are available and what it is that we can do to get to the next level. Now, I would love to go around the room, kind of get a few introductions around, make sure everybody know who we're actually talking to, where you guys are from, and what you do at those places. Audrey, you want to go last or you want to go first this time?
I'll go last. I will follow these legends.
Sounds good. We'll go bottom up. Mark, please kick us off.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me. I'm Mark. I am the founder of Dominion. We are tokenizing silver, backed fully one-to-one by physical silver. We were lucky enough to all be on a panel recently in Toronto, so it's good to see everybody and be back.
Fantastic, Mark. Joseph, how about yourself?
Check.
Oh, there you are.
Was that so? My Wi-Fi dropped or the system dropped, but did somebody ask me a question?
Intro yourself. Intro your beautiful self.
Okay. So if you looked at my LinkedIn, my official name is Gregory Joseph Caturay, but I go by Joseph or Joey. I had to put Gregory in so I could verify myself with my passport, because that is actually my passport name. But I am the CEO of Gatsby Games and Gatsby Gold, and we put out a platform, a stable economic platform that uses stablecoins, specifically a gold stablecoin, to back the economy.
Oh man, we're gonna get into some fun things today. That's what that sounds like. Lisa, please go for it.
Hi. I just realized my title is wrong on here. I don't know how to change it. Sorry, I didn't notice that before. But I am the Chief of Staff at Ubuntu Tribe. We are tokenizing gold, and we're really building a future where banking is decentralized and everyone has access. So it's not just gold, but we're building an investment platform that's accessible to everybody. That's Ubuntu Tribe, and I will work on my caption.
I'll take care of your caption for you. Don't you worry about a thing. Audrey, how about yourself?
All right, so I am Audrey Nesbitt. I go by altcoin Audrey on X, and I have been in the tokenization space for a long time, and Goldie City, we are working on tokenization of gold, silver, and other precious metals. It's the platform's ready to try out. If anyone wants to come, they can try it out for free.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So let's make sure that we're actually having fun, because I'll be honest with you guys, people might show up for the information, but if they're not entertained by the conversation we're having, they're just going to drop. So we might as well have a little bit of fun while we're giving them out all of this info, right?
So after every question, we're going to do a dance routine followed by some gymnastics. Anyways, okay, take it action.
Can I just grab a guitar and sing and play a little bit? Would that be acceptable?
Okay. That's perfectly.
if those are real, yes, you can. If it's not a bad,
they are. They're all real. Yeah. And there's more that you can't see on screen. So we got plenty to go around. I'll give you each one of you guys an instrument. How about that?
There you go.
I could fold some laundry for.
I saw the stand-up comic one time talk about the Olympics and how it'd be way more fun if you received a notice, much like jury duty, that you were going to the Olympics and you didn't know.
I would completely agree. That would be phenomenal.
Going, and I'm doing the luge. Oh no! Oh
no! I love it. All right, so let's kick this off and kind of get the tone right, like, because traditionally, everyone has looked at precious metals, for example, as your passive store of values. And it seems like things are moving a little bit at a different speed these days. I guess the main question to kind of have an understanding of where we're at, is it still a passive type of investment, or are we moving on and becoming a little bit more degen for the people that are in crypto? The best way to say it. Are the prices moving and fluctuating faster than they're supposed to? Are we seeing, our good old store of values really become trading assets? And I'll open this up to anybody. Please, Joseph, I see you're going for it.
Yeah, okay, I'll go for it. I'll start off with some fireworks, and that'll make sure this conversation is very funny. No, so a very small plug. I'm an advisor to The Economist, in The Economist, the actual magazine. And I think I'm privy to an article that has just come out about. What I'm talking here specifically is about the movement of gold. And traditionally, in times of inflation, gold goes up, and so on. But as we've seen over the past couple of weeks, that has not happened. So what's that work here? And I don't know that anybody knows. I don't claim that I know either, but I'll give you the intel of some of my much more experienced peers around me. So, we're in this period of, crazy period of war and so on and so forth. And as I said, traditionally, gold has been a hedge against inflation. But there's some interesting things going. Stock market's going down, and as I understand it, there's something called a debasement trade, and that has nothing to do with being in a basement, but essentially what it is that there's trades in gold to cover losses in other assets. So it's somewhat unique to this period of time, and I think at least in the short term, we may see some wacky volatility in the market. Again, I'm not a gold analyst, or I'm not, in the markets myself, but my business is heavily dependent on how the market moves. Actually, we're very interested in how it moves. I shouldn't say we're dependent on it. So I think, once things settle out again, I think, once the wacky trades are done, I think gold will take on its normal trajectory that we were somewhat used to over the past couple of years. That my humble opinion, based on the research of my peers. I'm just the messenger. I'm just the messenger.
One point on the discussions that I've been in with people in the gold industry, and that's oil is what's pressuring down the price of gold at the moment. It is the increase of price of oil due to the war. So oil is the commodity at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I also think if you look historically at what happens to the safety trade, is the dollar strengthens when there's war, because everybody wants cash because they don't know what's happening next. One, they want to take advantage of any big sell-offs, but two, they just want cash because they want to be liquid. Gold and silver traditionally aren't the most liquid assets if you hold them physically, which is why tokenization is such an interesting topic. But secondly, what will happen in the next few weeks is the markets have priced out rate cuts right now, right? So gold's went down because they think we're going to get some tightening in the economy. It's just not the case. Central banks just can't tighten to where they need to tighten. They're going to eventually print. Gold's eventually going to run absolutely astronomical numbers over the next couple of years. We're still up like 20% since November, despite the sell-off. For gold, that's a ridiculous move anyway. But if you actually look at, from the bottom to the top, it was massive. So I think when you actually look at what happens during conflict, gold normally takes a bit of a dun first off as people go to the dollar. And then when they realize the only way to finance a war is money printing, the only way to finance all this debt is money printing, gold and silver are going to rally, and we're going to see silver at triple digits this year again, gold probably north of $5,500. You've got some crazy options games going on just now with gold options at $15,000 being bought. It's actually just normal market dynamics. It's just people are, because Bitcoin hasn't necessarily been a massive hedge, people are throwing the same slander at gold and silver because they sold off a bit after a generational rally. That's all it is, in my opinion.
Generational rally.
To come back to the question you asked, like, is it a passive investment or are we moving to something different? There's value to a passive investment, right? I think gold has always been that safe haven long term. It's the place where people go if there's uncertainty in the markets. Not in this particular case where people want cash for liquidity, but the same thing that Joey said, I agree with, is that we're tokenizing things that have traditionally been less liquid and increasing the liquidity of them. We're also at Ubuntu Tribe, we're also providing opportunities to make your gold work for you. So it's not just passive anymore. So digitizing gold or putting it on chain, making it more liquid, it has all of the benefits of passive investment still, which I don't think is a bad thing, right? I think passive investment is in this case, it's gold's strongest characteristic is that it is passive and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to do anything to keep your investment safe. Just hold it. It's the best thing to hold. with the possible exception of Bitcoin, but we know Bitcoin has not been around as long as gold, so more history is needed. But anyway, my point is that it has that passive investment value, but we're bringing more value to it. Everyone in this room, I think, could agree that we're bringing more value by tokenizing it, adding on additional things besides passive investment, but doesn't negate the value of the passive part.
Now, I guess let me ask you, Mark, in regards to the whole gold versus silver thing. Are we looking at similar yields? Are we looking at, the volatility cases here really being the same, or something completely different when we're looking at these two different assets? I just want to know if the playing field as far as, rare earth minerals are, similar, or if they're really far apart from one another.
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of similarities in terms of the historical relevance of silver and gold, but I think the biggest key driver in silver is the industrial demand that we're seeing, and we're going to continue to see over the next few years. You've got EVs, solar panels, renewables, you've got AI, every data center, every chip that's manufactured needs silver. And the other part is silver's a byproduct in mining majority of the time. So people don't actually go out and just mine silver. They mine other things, gold, copper, whatever, and silver's a byproduct. So you put those two together, and actually you have a supply and demand, probably problem basically for people, in that you've got massive growing demand issues, and you can't just turn on miners. So when we see gold prices rally, we see more and more mining projects go live to capitalize on the price appreciation. It's not quite as easy with silver. So there is that, but then you have the historical context. So everyone around the world, especially in some of the, like India, for example, has a massive heritage with gold and silver. They understand it. They understand the properties way better than we probably do in the West. They have an affiliation with it going back generations of their family. So I think there's a lot of similarities, but there's also some structural differences as well.
Got it. So I guess the best way to explain it to everybody in crypto, it's basically your Litecoin and Dogecoin set up. You're mining one, you're mining both at the same time, right? So you kind of get the best of both worlds. It becomes that byproduct. And shout out Bell's Coins that also jumped on that, that whole wagon there, and now you mine it without having to add anything to it as well. Really, really cool. You know what, Lisa, what about the yield portion of things, right? Does, kind of creating this yield generation, does it make the asset more complex? Does it make it more risky? Does it change the way that people look at it? I mean, we're already bringing it on chain. Now we're saying you can earn with it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make it more risky for sure, because basically we have all of the tokens that we sell are backed by physical gold that's vaulted in Switzerland. So you have a claim on that gold, but while you have a claim on that gold, earning a yield is pretty attractive, especially if you have such a stable backed asset. I don't think we've seen that before maybe you could say that USDT or USDC, probably with Coinbase, was one of those where it's a stable asset and you can also earn yield on it. That was great. But whoever holds stable coins, like, I don't know anybody who actually holds stable coins. People get into stable coins in order to use the liquidity as an on-ramp into fiat, whereas gold is something like Bitcoin that you're going to hold for a long time. I think it's more I think it's so funny that you're using crypto analogies to explain gold, because like most of the time we're doing the opposite, right? But to use an analogy, it's like if you were able to earn a yield on Bitcoin, and I'm sure there are some people who are trying to build projects that earn yield on Bitcoin, but none of them have really been hugely popular. But imagine if you have a store of Bitcoin and you want to hold on to it for the future because you believe it's going there. It's going to get to 1 million or whatever, and that's your retirement plan. I know a lot of people like that who do that. Imagine if you can get yield on it in the meantime, like the same deal. So no, I don't think it makes it more risky. Does it make it more complex? Not necessarily, because our goal is really to simplify everything and make it so that Web 2 people can hold gold tokens, gift tokens, which is our gold token. It's called $gift, can hold that without even knowing anything about crypto. So we basically divide people into Web 2 users, Web 3 beginners, and Web 3 native people. And we're serving all three populations. But really the one that I think has the most potential is that Web 2 audience that doesn't want to know anything about private keys and wallets and all of these things. We just want to make it super simple for them to hold and earn yield with gold.
Talking about the yield and not wanting to know anything, you bring up stables, which I think is a great point. Most people that are earning money on stables, they don't care where that yield is coming from, right? So I guess that's my question to you guys. Like, what's actually happening in the background? How are you actually able to generate yield from your gold, your silver, and other precious metals inside of DeFi today? Like, because for the person walking off the street, they're going, oh, I buy this and it gives me money over time. How does that actually work?
Mm-hmm. I mean, how we do the yield is not, it's not something that we require people to understand. So it's not something that we surface, but because like, that could be complex. But generating the yield on, there's strategies in DeFi, as you mentioned, to generate yield. As soon as you have velocity of money, there is yield. And so if you have a tokenized product, you have the opportunity to create liquidity pools to, I mean, that's just the simplest one. Create a liquidity pool and then people trade. People want to get into the asset, people want to get out of the asset, are trading, and it's generating fees, and those fees are shared with the community instead of being taken by, I mean, I think that's one big difference that we have with other gold tokens like Tether or Paxos is that they're generating yield on their tokens, but that yield is not so much shared with the community. It's more of they provide exposure to gold through a tokenized product, which is very valuable. It's very valuable to get exposure. For years, I've used the PaxG token to get exposure to gold without having to physically go and buy it. But it is just exposure. It's not really participation in yield bearing opportunities or in a community. And I think that's where the opportunity is at Ubuntu Tribe. We're building more of that community. We're teaching people how to invest. We're teaching people how to save, providing financial education and literacy, along with the ability to hold a token that is much more stable than many world currencies today.
Got it. For any of you guys, out here, how else are you creating yield? How are you making money off of gold for your users?
Well, I think there's two. Two sides. I think there's two sides that Lisa kind of hit on. Most people don't know how the interest in their bank accounts created, just like no one understands how an email goes from my computer to your computer. What the yield is the risk premium, right? So if they're getting 6 to 8%, they're kind of intuitively saying, I accept that there's some element of risk, but I'm getting paid for that element of risk. With DeFi, you could do all sorts of things. You could do arbitrage trading, you could do basis trading, you can earn fees, like Lisa said, just from the velocity. So there's volume fees, you can farm your own fees. What DeFi really opens us up to is a million possibilities of generating revenue from a token, and it doesn't necessarily matter what that token's backed by. What the important thing for what we're saying is it will matter in the future what that token's backed by, because if you're earning an APY in a token that has infinite supply, isn't backed by utility, you're basically earning yield on nothing. What we're saying is you're earning yield on a commodity hard asset that can't just be printed out of thin air. And that's really, really valuable, because then it opens up borrow and lend markets. And that's where I think commodities play a crucial role in tokenization and Web3 in the future.
Interesting. So it's really about creating new markets that people can actually participate in, and yield comes from that. Joseph, please, you had something to say earlier.
Oh no, I was just going to say, for the mechanics of generating yield, I would defer to our treasury manager and our risk officers, who are not on the call right now. That's probably the easiest way to say it.
But you have a unique use case in regards to your users on the game side. Like, that's a unique.
Yeah, I mean, it's so. As gold is stakes, or as we use gold to back the stable, as we use gold to back our stable, the promise in it, although the reason I say this is that I cannot speak fluidly to the exact mechanics of, but as I said, our treasury manager can. But Suffice it to say that for either holders that stake their gold or holders that actually want yield, and we have a mechanism for them to get yield. We simply use that as a backstop for the currency. Now, in our use case, it's mildly different because in a way, we actually are using gold as a meme. In fact, it's in video games, and that's what's gold is. I think I say this every on every time I get a chance to talk about it. But gold, other than real world gold, I think the one industry it's been in since its invention is the video game industry. You have Donkey Kong chasing coins like 30, 40 years ago. Same thing with Mario. But in our case, in terms of pricing, in terms of what's actually in the game, it actually is real gold in the game. That's the interesting use case about it. So, do our holders? We actually just got through our first beta of our platform. Was out last week, and when you sign up per something I think Lisa said earlier on, we hide all the plumbing. There's no mention of any plumbing whatsoever. When you sign up, you can buy stable. You can buy not just our stable. You can buy, I think there's USDC and a few others. But at the end of the day, on your tally of what's in your account, you have any digital items that you own, any cash that you've put in terms of either outright currency or outright stable coins, and the amount of gold stablecoin you actually have. So 14 grams of gold. So that actually sits in your account. But as I said, we're not, our particular use case, it's not for, our hope and intention is not that gamers come, okay, I'm going to try to win as much gold or buy as much gold, hoping to hang on to it, hoping, hold on to, 14 grams of gold for, 20 years, hoping that goes up in value. That's not really our use case. Ours is for transactional value. And, just to increase the transactional value, this is actually something our guys cooking in the lab came up with a couple of weeks ago, but it has been implemented. We have something interesting called gilding, and gilding, as in the real world, you can actually attach real world asset to a digital asset. So it's part digital asset. So in the old parlance, an NFT, in the newer parlance, an ARVA or a digital asset. And we have attached to that a gold value. And what does that do? It does what we've always wanted. It sets a stable, if some company goes out of business and you own their digital asset, if it's been gilded, you at least have the value of how much has been gilded. So that's again, our ethos is providing a fair, stable economy for gaming, backed by gold.
Very, very cool. Audrey, let me put you on the spot here for a second, because yes, this applies to gold, but it also applies to all of the other wonderful things you have done in crypto as far as RWAs are concerned. We kind of, with the precious metal markets, it's almost like a trust me, bro. I mean, Lisa explained Pax Gold really, really well and how those guys operate. How are we ensuring transparency, right? Because a lot of times people claim like you're buying this token and it means you have something. But do you really have it, right? Where does, kind of the transparency piece come in when it comes to on-chain collateral? Simply because we've seen it done right, and we've definitely seen it more often than not, things being done wrong in this space.
Right. Well, that's where you need to research the platform itself, right? And I have been working with everybody here on this panel, and I will give that to kudos. Like in regards to Ubuntu, part of always the conversation is transparency and doing it right. Compliance is a big part of our conversation, regulatory. And it's like, do it right, do it right, do it right. We hear that constantly. With Joseph and Gatsby Games, it's the same thing. And so I admire that, and that's why I like to continue, having these guests on these calls, is because I do trust them, and I know they all stand for something in the space, and we've all been in it long enough that we don't want to be attached to a shit coin or a shit platform. And Mark on Dominion, so this is so for the audience, do your due diligence. It might say it's a gold token, but you need to research the platform, right? Mm-hmm. And find out the legitimacy behind the platform and verify the claims that they're making. Mark is doing an interesting play in regards to the silver tokenization, and they're in the process of being traded or looking to be listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So for those that don't know, to get on the Toronto Stock Exchange or any like of the top tier stock exchange, you're heavily regulated. Like everything gets approved. Every headline in a press release has to be approved by that stock exchange. So Mark, do you want to tell us about that? Because how often do you hear of a crypto company wanting to be a publicly listed company?
Yeah, it's super exciting. We kind of went down this path about 4 or 5 months ago, started looking into it. And you're right, like when you get listed on an exchange like the TSX or the NASDAQ or something like that, they do so much due diligence, way more than anyone else. But the benefit of that, and it is a painful process, Audrey can attest to that.
Yes.
We've been talking about this for months now. But the benefit is that then the next person that comes along and wants to invest knows that you've already got that stamp of approval. And it just kind of sets you apart from the rest of the tokenization projects. I was looking at a tokenized project yesterday, and they do self-audits of their reserves. And they just publish a PDF saying that they've got what they say they've got. That's not proof of reserves. Like that, I could say I've got 2 tons of silver sitting behind me if that was the case. Now, to be listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, they're not going to accept audits like that. They're going to delve deep into the business. But what it does is, for us, it opens us up to accredited investors. We're a regulated offering at that stage. And ultimately, we think that's where the crypto industry, the Web3 industry, what you want to call it, is going to go, in that not necessarily listed on a public exchange, but you are going to actually have to comply with strict regulations in different jurisdictions. You're not going to be able to just spin up a token and anyone anywhere in the world will be able to allocate to it. And ultimately, the TradFi world is hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of capital sitting on the sidelines, and they want access to assets in the crypto space, but they're not just going to buy Dogecoin on, Kraken. Like, they just can't do that yet. It's too, imagine what their shareholders would say, imagine what their investors, their family offices would say. It just isn't a thing. But if they can say, well, we bought equity in a publicly traded tokenized silver company, that's a different ballgame. And then it also then opens them up to saying, oh, and also we also then bought the silver, so we've got silver exposure as well. So for us, we can win twice this way, but also the regulated stamp of approval is massive for us. And it's a long process, but it's going to be one that we think is worthwhile pursuing.
Yes, I'm currently working with a publicly traded gold company, and every press release has like 10 people going through it. You can't say that, you can't imply that because the TSX and AIM, they will even follow your social media to see how you are promoting, and they will send you a message going, and
it's so difficult
what
as well,
you're doing, and you can't do it yet.
Yeah, like I've been in crypto for ages. I've done fundraising for projects and stuff, and basically the playbook was get as loud as you can, go on spaces, talk about this, talk about that, tell them
show.
Yeah, tell them what you think the valuation could be in 6 months, a year, whatever. We can't do any of that. So it's really difficult. It's actually a really difficult process because we are trying to build traction, but we can't use any of the usual tactics to build traction. So if somebody followed me for a day and sat on all the calls, they would be like super bullish. But we can't even discuss who we're talking to most of the time because the TSX would just shut us down immediately. So it's a whole new ball game for us. But it's really exciting as well.
Yeah.
Wait, does that mean you actually have to have a decent product and you just can't rely on hype?
Exactly.
Yes. Yes, they
their products not enough, I can tell you. Like it's not true. If you build it, they will come. There's so much noise in this space, in all of our spaces, in our world today, that you have to make noise about something. So I guess I would wonder, I just want to know, Mark, is it worth it?
We believe it will be. So we believe that will be our moat, because MD can tokenize anything, to be honest. If you have a bit of capital, you can pretty much tokenize anything. We saw that with people that have bought SpaceX pre-IPO stocks. They just tokenize it because they know there's a way to make money in that. We believe being regulated, being a public listed company, will provide 2 things. One, it'll be a moat because most people won't go that way. So if somebody wants a regulated tokenized silver product, they won't be able to get another one. There won't be another one, or it'll be 6 months, 12 months behind. There isn't a single MiCA compliant regulated commodity in Europe right now. So there's another opportunity for us. If we become the first regulated silver token in Europe, then that becomes a moat as well. And then also the benefit is the capital we can access, because we'll be talking, at that stage, you're then talking to people that want to allocate $10-15 million worth of cash to your business or your product, rather than fighting for $100 investors in Web3, which there's nothing bad about that, but it's just a different product.
And you can make noise as a publicly traded company. You just you can't make false claims. So everything when you make noise on has to be verified, and like this is a proven fact. Like in mining, the N1 4301, it's like the TSX needs to see it and approve it. Then it's like, then you can go and announce that you have that documentation, and then you can make noise around that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say we're going through the same process in Europe right now. Ubuntu Tribe, we have a security token coming out fairly soon through the Czech Republic. So there will be. You may not have that advantage in Europe. So we're not as far as you are with the TSX, but hope to get there as well.
With the TSX, Mark, what I think is smart is as we've mentioned, is why do the majority of mining companies, wherever they are in the world, list on the Toronto Stock Exchange or the Canadian Stock Exchange, right? I think that the TSX has 76% of all mining, something like that, junior mining companies, because we invest in mining. It's brilliant. If you're the first tokenized silver product on the Toronto Stock Exchange, you're literally the first crossover option for people that are already pumping millions of dollars into the silver mining industry.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I think the other thing is, if you're a mining company, this should be exciting to you, because it's a way of getting more attention in the mining space, which drives more capital, which unlocks more natural resources getting pulled out of the ground. And that's all they really care about. And I think that's really important as well, is that we not only tokenize metal, but we also engage with the people that are actually at the coalface of the industry of metals in general. And that's why we came with PDAC, was to actually integrate with those people, those investors, those business owners. So I think it's just a different ball game, really, in my eyes, that I've never done before.
I had a funny conversation. So I was at PDAC also, as you know. That's where we had our last panel. But I was going around the floor and talking to people about tokenized metals. And I won't say which government, but I did have a conversation with a government representative and mentioned tokenization. And he said, "What's that?" He had no idea what it was. And so I said, "Well, you know what blockchain is?" "No." "Wait, you know what Bitcoin is?" "Oh yeah, I know Bitcoin." So I had to start at Bitcoin and explain tokenization. So I guess I found maybe the mining industry is not quite ready for us, but let's see how quickly money definitely motivates people. So let's see how quickly we can get the word out.
Yeah, right. I think I would say Canada's probably further ahead as well. We all met Amanda from the OSC. I'm sure she won't mind me mentioning, but I've had a couple of emails from her. Like, she's super engaged on tokenization. She's from the Securities Commission in Ontario. That wouldn't happen in the UK. They wouldn't talk to you. It would take you a year to get a meeting with them. Right. So I do think there is also, it's not just that Canada mines loads of silver and that's why we're interested in being in Canada, but they actually are very open to it. And I also think they've got an opportunity to leapfrog the US and actually be almost like a proving ground before people go to the NASDAQ. And I think that's already similar, the way some businesses look at it. But I think they are very much open. But I agree with you, Lisa, like most governments don't have a clue.
So I love the fact that we're actually able to talk about the tokenization aspect of things. Like, it's something that we weren't even, thinking of, let's say, a decade ago, right? When crypto was out here, but people weren't using it in all of the fashions that we're using it today. But the cool thing is that we can do a lot with it once we do get this tokenization under our belt. And I guess I'll go to you, Joseph. Like, what does that look like, right? Because now you not only have, these digital economies, but you're creating demand for these digital economies through other means. With you, it's gaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally the foundation of our business, and we have consciously made an effort to when we speak to sort of a crypto audience, we'll talk about rails and so on and so forth. But when we're talking to, for example, a traditional or a Web2 market, which is a market we're trying to embrace, we're really trying to get that market to take advantage of the possibilities of blockchain. And that, I generally use blockchain when I refer to it as opposed to crypto, because at the end of the day, our rails are blockchain based. Does anybody really have to know? Like right now, I have bank accounts at RBC and CIBC. I have deposits checks, so I have no idea what goes on behind the scenes there, right? I'm sure something does. as long as I put my card in my ATM machine and money comes out, something is going on there. But the rails and the technology, there's been a lot of there's a lot of religiosity. I'm not necessarily going to say hype, but a lot of belief in the technology, and I believe it as well. But I believe it actually has, the technology has really specific use cases that at the end of the day you don't need to know what the underlying technology is. But as I said, in our case, we're not, we don't go on about the technology or our L1 or what we're building to use our L1 or how we're writing our smart contracts or anything like that. I never have that discussion with anyone except on this forum. But it actually, it allowed us to create our business. The whole idea to be able to, use blockchain technology to create stable coins or stable assets that are backed by real world assets. That's literally the foundation of our whole business, and allow that to distribute to a market that wouldn't even think about it. I think it was Lisa earlier on that said there's people aren't even thinking about it. Even traditional markets are not really they may have heard of Bitcoin, but all the other pieces of technology they have not heard of. And I think over time we'll see that we will see the hype term sort of fade away, and the reality of working rails. And again, I'm using that in this forum, but I probably would I'd just say our technology is really strong and the foundations are strong and it works really well. That's probably all I'd say about it. But it literally has been the foundation for my particular business. So it allowed me to create the business. So that's I owe a lot to that technology stack.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And a lot of times people don't talk about what actually matters, right? They try to create RWAs that aren't supposed to exist in the first place. It's not doing anybody any good. It's not increasing, like Lisa said, increasing the velocity of money. Like, that's a huge thing. If you're not able to do that, why do you have an RWA? Are you creating more liquidity for that asset? Why do you have an RWA? Like, it has to make sense. And I see, these precious metals as making the most sense of all. And I think it has to do with the ability to make these assets more liquid, in my opinion. What do you guys think might be missing here, though? Like, because we see gold and silver, I think, are the easiest ones for people to see value in as far as liquidity is concerned. What else does it take for us to bring more of these precious metals, or even increase the adoption of these, current ones on blockchain? Simply because, to me, it just makes sense. But I don't know if everybody's seen it the way that we do.
The one that I'm waiting for on my, because we obviously were tokenizing solid, gold and silver that's already in vaults and that sort of thing. I wrote an article on how I'm waiting for when it can help with the funding of junior mining exploration. So that hasn't really happened yet. And what's missing there, in my opinion, is a direct pathway to that liquidity. Right. So some of the projects I've consulted on, we could go to the junior mining company and say, okay, tokenize. And they'll be like, why? Right. You're adding an additional layer. This is typical of Web3, is we're bringing in an additional layer of complications. Right. Whereas now, maybe 3 years ago, the timing wasn't there. So the regulatory pathways are opening up for this, right? We know that, like, that is happening right now. So I think that's all falling into place. So what I mean by that right now, though, is you go to a gold company that's about to pull gold out of the ground and say, do you want to tokenize? They'd be like, why? Like, we have buyers lining up. Do you get what I mean? We have buyers lining up. Tell me why I need to tokenize my exploration program. Does that make sense? There's no need for them to do it right now, especially if they're about to pull out of the ground.
That's a big pain point.
Financiers are lining up.
Yeah, that's not a pain point. That's
so, like, and that's always. But at some point, when the gold prices stabilize or drop, they will need new funding avenues because, right, the markets fluctuate. So now what's happening and what's coming into place, and what I really love, especially with Ubuntu, Goldie City, and that sort of thing, is they're laying all that groundwork, right? They're laying that groundwork for that to happen. And all doing it through the regulatory pathways, knowing you have to be regulated, like you are going to have to be a licensed entity and that sort of thing. So that's what's exciting about what's happening right now, because that solution will fall into place. Does that make sense?
Does that mean that we should probably only purchase tokenized assets from organizations that actually have a legal team?
What?
Yes.
What you talking about? What are you talking about?
It's been a little rough out there for us on the DGen side of things. Just seeing people just going, oh yeah, it's fine. Somebody launched a token. It's like, did you look into it? Like, do you know if this is actually, gonna last, or if you're gonna get rugged tomorrow? I think that's been still a problem that people don't realize. They see something shiny and pretty because they did a bajillion trades of a penny back and forth to create that volume. Then all of a sudden it's like, that's the one I need to go for, and they don't look at what actually matters. They don't look at the longevity of these projects. We're still in that unfortunate phase for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think I think there is an element that the industry is maturing slightly, though. We see it. People are demanding yield. People are demanding better information. And to your point, is there demand for these products? I think there is, but not necessarily in the spaces we're used to looking. Like if you look at the crypto space, it's what $3 trillion market cap today. If we're lucky, 2.3 trillion. So it's taken a bit of a hit since the last few weeks. There's $1.5 trillion worth of silver just sitting in Brink's vaults around the world, estimated. You know what I mean? Like the commodities markets are huge. Like they're 100x crypto. So like family offices hold trillions of dollars of metals around the world. The demand is there for metal exposure. The physical demand is huge right now, but we're going through a massive wealth transfer. The average 21-year-old kid that's going to inherit his family's fortunes wants it in a wallet that he can carry about with him. He wants to be earning yield, and he wants to be able to buy and sell whenever he wants. He doesn't want to have to pay for insurance at a Brink's vault every year and get it audited and try and sell it on a Monday morning when the market's open, even though it should be trading on a Saturday and Sunday because that's what he's grown up with assets trading like. So there is demand. The demand's growing. It won't shrink. And I think if we go through a volatile macro period, which it looks like we're going to, the demand for these products is just going to grow from both sides, from Web3, understand them more, and from traditional world coming on chain.
Wait, so is the traditional world right now, like, are they ready to provide these deep liquidity, to precious metals for tokenization purposes? Do you think they're there already?
I think if the framework's regulated and it's easy enough for them to onboard, I don't see why not. The vaults products that are springing up left, right, and center right now for regulated products, they're huge. They're selling out in no time. I spoke to a company before we came on air, and they were like, "Yeah, once you're regulated, like this is where we want to start, and it's in the millions of dollars vaults." So yeah, I think if it's regulated, it's audited, and it's genuine, and they do their DD on it, then there's demand for it. Got it.
So how does blockchain... Go ahead, Lisa, please.
Yeah, I would just want to say I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet, but March is a pretty big in the US. I mean, the US is the most difficult market for anything crypto related. People usually attack the US at first as if we can solve this problem, then we can solve the whole world, although Mika has its own challenges. But in March 17th, the SEC issued a guidance that I thought was pretty huge for all of us. After more than a decade of uncertainty, the SEC was interpreted how securities laws apply to real world assets that are fully backed, and that they're commodities. So CFTC, Commodities Futures Trading Commission, now has jurisdiction over, for example, the GIFT token, and that's huge. I'm celebrating. I think that's amazing for our industry and for the projects that we're working on.
It's kind of funny for people looking from the outside and going like, we're celebrating being given a label. It's like, yes, we are. Yes, we really are. Finally, we have clarity. We've been asking for this for years now. So yeah, for everybody kind of outside looking in, this is a great thing for all of us. It doesn't matter if it's going to cost us more or cost us less. We actually know what we're dealing with, because most of the time people are afraid to jump into the space simply because they didn't know what they were dealing with. Now that people actually understand and there's a label at least to it, people know, okay, so this is the space that I'm working in. But when it comes to blockchain, guys, like, does it actually help when it comes to, understanding production levels, how, these capital markets are really supposed to be functioning with more clarity than the current, way that people are trading these commodities? Like, what are the benefits here?
Say that again.
So right now, we have a lot of different ways and places people can purchase these assets. Once we bring things on chain, even if there are, let's say, in different buckets, there's always the ability of keeping it discoverable, right? Bringing things together, writing protocols that we can actually explore the price. Right now, it's not up to the people a lot of times what the price really is. And we, as personal private investors, we can't always even make a dent on what the price of these assets are. But if there is a market where everyone is trading things publicly and openly across the globe, does it close the gap and allow people to actually pay a more fair price for things and really have the understanding of what the volume of these things really looks like, as opposed to being so fragmented where people are trading, in Europe, and that doesn't touch what happens in the markets elsewhere? Does that actually help? Does it actually bring it all together?
Well, it depends who you are. If you're a trader who thrives on volatility and arbitrage opportunities, it definitely does not help you, because there will be a lot more fair pricing across the board, and your opportunities to make a lot of money. I mean, we have to be honest, the crypto market, the blockchain industry, has been driven by speculation up from its inception until now. I don't like it, but if that's where, at least that's what's kept it alive, right? That's why we keep doing this, is basically because of greed. And so if you take away that incentive, if you take away the honeypot for those who can take advantage of fragmented prices and asymmetry in the market, then do we still have enough interest? Do we still have enough money flowing for us to keep on building? And I think the answer is yes, but that's why it's taken so long to get to this point. If you're talking about from the perspective of the everyday person, then yeah, absolutely, it makes things much better, as long as we can keep going without this incentive, this flywheel of greed keeping us going.
Yeah. I also think if you look at silver trades at a different price no matter what country you are in the world. So why is that? Like, that's just unfair. It's not, gold and silver fractionalization is a real problem as well. We spoke about the developing world earlier. So yeah, I think the premium on physical silver in the UK is about 45%, maybe 50% versus somewhere like Canada or the US. That's just a crazy premium to get access to what ultimately is the best money, gold and silver. And then also, I think with the blockchain, you're right, it brings transparency, but not just transparency in price, transparency in, does the metal exist? Where is it? How much exists? Because that's the problem with the ETF market. There's 100 contracts, or probably even more than that. They claim 100 contracts to every 1 ounce of silver in the ETF market. So that's why we're seeing so many issues with the paper silver price. And that's why, spot silver might be trading at $75 here, but in China it's trading at $92, $100, whatever it is, because paper markets are completely manipulated. And I think the blockchain puts an end to that. And then the final point is AI agents aren't going to trade in fiat and paper ETFs. They're going to trade on chain, and they're going to trade 24/7. So if an asset doesn't exist there, it's not going to be traded.
Wow. I mean, that's a really good way to put it. I just noticed that we're getting close to the top of the hour. I want to make sure I get to at least one of you guys at a time here to close us out. What are you guys' outlooks when it comes to RWA tokenization as a whole? Obviously, if you can speak to gold and your precious metals, that definitely helps. But is this obviously? I think we're all on the same page that it's not a fad. It's not just something that's going to come and go. It's something that's definitely here to stay. But how long until? I mean, let's be serious. Stocks are nothing more than tokenized assets for all intents and purposes. It's just that we don't have visibility or control over any of it. And now we're looking at the blockchain space and actually having a transparency aspect to it, which definitely helps everybody. How long until it all becomes tokenized, or will it ever become tokenized? What's you guys' outlooks? And I'll kick it off with you, Joey.
I mean, it's a good question. And here would be my answer. It depends. I think a couple of things will happen. A generational change, and what to me is a generational change is when, there might be a time, maybe it's 50, 60 years from now. I don't know if I'm going to be around for it, but suffice to say, we would not be able to have a panel discussion like this because it would just be integrated into everyday life. I always say my two favorite technologies are doorknobs and refrigerators, and no one ever talks about doorknobs or refrigerators, but they are great technologies. It's probably the number one security, doorknobs being one of the number one security devices in the world, and refrigerators somewhat keep us healthy. But I think there will be a generational change. There was a discussion earlier on. I think Lisa and Audrey were somewhat leading it about there is a generation that exists now, and we were talking to our investor who was deep into the gold industry on the refining side and the repository side, and he did issue me a strict caution. He said, "Listen, the world that you're dealing with, there's like these oligarchs, these elderly gentlemen, or maybe elderly women as well, that just have stockpiles of gold, and they just want to sit and look at it." They don't want to move it. They don't care. It's just their storage of wealth. But it just, if you have a beaming pile of gold coins and bars sitting there, that gives them some sense of satisfaction. And he said, you're going to have to wait for that generation to pass away before you can really start it, because they're not they're not technical. They don't care. They just want to see the glow. So
I saw a video of that at Lord of the Rings. I think they look like a dragon.
Right. That's essentially what they are, dragons. I think listen, I'm confident. Listen, I wouldn't be in the business if I wasn't confident, but I think over time, it's a generational change. There'll be, I think the previous conversation was about, efficiency, and it's the same thing. Our previous discussion, does efficiency actually make this better? And my Socratic answer is it depends. If you're a drug dealer, an arms dealer, probably not. But if you're, a normal everyday trader, possibly. I don't know if anybody. I'll leave it with this. But there was something interesting that happened at the beginning of the war. That if you happen to be in Dubai, you could go down to the gold souk, and it was 30 points off spot to sell any gold item. A lot of the influencers who maybe have gold jewelry, rings, and so on, who want to get out of the country, just went to the souk and sold at 30 points off. Now, that'd be nice to be able to arbitrage that. Was there any way, physically to do it? Probably not. But I thought it was an interesting story, seeing as I'm tangentially associated with gold now. So, anyways, that's my piece.
That totally makes sense. Lisa, he brought up something really fun here, and I'd love you to kind of touch on it as well. The obfuscation of trades as well in this space. Is it going to be something that we need, that we use? And I'm not just saying that because it's a secret network, but I think obfuscation sometimes helps the little guy too, right?
Oh,
you unmuted and muted yourself again.
it's just not responding very fast. Sorry about that. Obfuscation is mostly, most of the people who seek it are the high net worth people, I will say. Like, you rarely hear someone who's flying under the radar who cares about their privacy, because they're like, no one's looking at me anyway, why do I care? Which I think is an illusion. I think they should care, and I think they will care in the future. But it does help everybody, the obfuscation of your transactions. Just, I mean, Joey said something about not wanting everybody to know which bank account he has, and and like, nobody needs to know. He has his ATM card and it works. It's the same thing in blockchain as we talk about at Secret Network. It's about making sure that the information that shouldn't be shared publicly isn't shared publicly. And you asked about where I see the future of tokenization, and I think that tokenization is going to be the new mechanism. I just think it'll be natural. We won't talk about it, like Joey said, we won't be having this conversation because it'll just be the way things work. Yeah. There's strong forces against that who want to keep the way things are right now, because then they can control the flow of cash, and whoever controls it gets to siphon off of that flow, of course. So back to where I see things are going, I just think everything's going to be tokenized, and when everything's tokenized, your privacy goes away completely. If everything's on chain, suddenly, yeah, you didn't care that nobody was watching you, but now you're like a target. Every single move you make is public. You're going to care now. So yes, it will help everyone. Will people realize that in time? I do not know.
I love that take. Mark, what's your take on where we're going, other than the fact you're going to be super hyper successful and be listed on the TSX?
Yeah, I think I agree with the guys. I don't think there's too much to add. I think tokenization won't be a term we use in the next 5 years. I think it'll just be, if you start a startup and you need capital, you'll do tokenized equity. The demand is there. You see it. You see the volumes on chain. You see Frank Templeton just acquired a digital asset platform today. All the big banks are paying attention to tokenization, whether they're hiring tokenization experts or for roles in their industries. Within the next 18 months, it's just going to look a different thing. That's why Cathie Wood's predicting RWAs go to, what, 6 to 8 trillion by 2030. Cathie Wood makes some kooky claims, but she's often right on her predictions. I wouldn't bet against her being off by too many trillions.
Oh, yeah. I think you said it best there, that's for sure. She definitely has some wild takes, but ultimately she's not too far away from where where things land. Audrey, last but absolutely not least, what's going on with you as far as RWAs are concerned? What's your outlook?
My outlook is in regards to dealing with RWAs or talking around tokenization of RWAs. It is going to go the way of doorknobs and refrigerators. We're going to use the technology. We're going to love the technology, but we are not going to know that we are using the technology. Banks, absolutely. Banks in Canada are hiring across all, like, blockchain developers, analysts, everything. It's coming to the big banks. Even in the countries that have been slower to onboard, like Canada, it is now coming in like gangbusters. So I agree with Cathie Wood's prediction that we are going to be in the trillions within a few years.
Wow, I love to hear that. Now, last but definitely not least, let's make sure that I give you guys a chance to actually let everybody know where they can find you. And I'll just go around the room again. Y'all can share your socials, let everybody know what the company is and what they can expect out of you guys so that they can find all of you guys on socials as well, because that's kind of important too. So, Joey, go for it. Yeah,
so the site, and actually the site just opened for beta players. There's actually nothing to play, but you can sign up. It's gatsby.games. That's the URL, gatsby.games. That's the whole URL. Play Gatsby games on X, and I think that's the same on Discord and on where else are we? Oh, and on Telegram, yes.
Awesome. Lisa, how about yourself? Where can you find out more about what you're building in, even yourself on X?
Yeah, Lisa is loud everywhere. So I'm That's easier to remember. Just look for me on X, Lisa's Lab, on Telegram, on Instagram, everywhere. And I am working with Ubuntu Tribe. Our site is utribe.one. So utribe.one, you can actually easily buy gift. We sell gold tokens fully backed that by the 100th of a gram. So I know everyone else is selling by the ounce, but we're by the 100th of a gram. So our tokens are only 15 cents, which just seems more accessible. You know, instead of buying like a fraction of a token, you can buy a bunch of tokens for 15 cents each. And yeah, it's open, it's available. You can buy it now, as long as you're in a jurisdiction that supports it, which is not currently, but US.
It gives people hope to win $1. I think that's the other piece there. That also makes it very exciting, right? That's always what people are looking at. When do we actually get over that decimal point? So that's a great way to go about it. Mark, let me go over to you, sir.
Yeah, so our website's dominion.market, and then we're at Dominion_market on X. Yeah, you can keep track of everything we're working on. And yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Audrey.
And Goldie.city is the website, and Goldie City on X and Goldie City on LinkedIn. And I am Altcoin Audrey on X.
I love it. Thank you all so much. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Couldn't have asked for a better panel to talk this stuff out. And I most definitely found you guys' talk on that couch. So I'm going to be watching that in just a few minutes here. And if you guys have a chance, go look that up because it looks awesome. And I can't wait to hear what you guys had to share.
All right.
Thanks, Action.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a great one.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Genzio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a hive.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We're back at the Genzio Media House.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today.